Welcome back to our yearly roundup of all the weird news that has happened in 2021. If you're new around here and have missed the past episodes which featured all the weird news from the first 3 quarters of 2021, then make sure you head back and watch those after this one, because they're chock full of strangeness which I think you might just be interested in learning about. I'm back today with 2 more weird tales from the year just past, and as a reminder, this won't be your usual news roundup, this is strictly the stuff that makes you go, what? As quite frankly, politics, the global panny D, and the general destruction of the planet are not the kind of energy we want to be knowingly dragging into the new year. Now, that's not to say that these stories don't dally with the dark side, because they most definitely do, but there's also some light-hearted strangeness too. But don't worry, if anything is going to be hideously awful, then I'll give you a heads up first. So with the disclaimer out of the way, let's jump into November. But before we do that, if you are new around here, then hi, my name's Nikki and I make podcasts and videos about all sorts of weird things. So if you're into that, which I have a sneaking suspicion you might be because the algorithm has brought you here, then please hit subscribe so we can hang out together again. And if you're not new here, then welcome back, old fiend. Nice to see you again. So for our first story today, we're travelling to Australia to learn about their ecosystem and some bothersome felines that have been upsetting it. Now, just a quick heads up, if you like cats and are particularly sensitive, you might want to skip over this story, as I'm going to be talking about them being controlled, but I won't be graphic or descriptive because cats is life, and I couldn't handle that either. Seriously, I can watch the goriest horror movies with no worry at all, watch true crime docs alone at night, but animals and anything happening to them, I can't handle. I once watched Marley and Me, and they had to put a flood warning at the Thames barrier. Anyway, back to Australia. Across the whole of Australia, feral cats are wreaking havoc on the local flora and fauna. The felines, which have become an invasive species, have been growing in numbers and causing huge problems when it comes to local wildlife. Authorities across the whole of the continent have been battling to lower feral house cat numbers and have tried several different methods to get them under control, but things have now got so bad that they've had to resort to extreme measures. In Melbourne, a bill was passed which made it illegal for house cats to be allowed outside, as a result of cats being held responsible for the extinction of more than 20 species in Australia. Serious consequences are now happening for those cats which don't have owners. A scheme has been set up in many different parts of Australia to control the cats, and some places have seen quite a good success rate. As you can imagine, there are plenty of mistakes that can be made when it comes to determining someone's pet from a feral kitty, so there have been problems with mistaken identity. Back in 2020, a sterilised feral cat colony which was living in a man-made area and as such weren't preying on wildlife was unceremoniously culled overnight with no warning. In Newcastle, New South Wales, the cat colony which was cared for and had been reduced in numbers from 100 to 40 cats over the years through a successful sterilisation policy were visited by a hired council worker who used a thing that I can't mention on YouTube or else this video will get an instant ban, sorry podcast listeners, to try and eradicate the cats. The reason I say try is that this person wasn't particularly good at what they did and caused the cats several life-altering injuries, which have required ongoing medical treatment from the angels that look after them and their vet team, leaving these poor animals changed forever. The group that looks after the cats are looking to press charges for the poor workmanship of the contracted cat hitman, and they have a lot of support, so they might just be successful in their plight. So what does all of that have to do with the average house cat? Well, authorities in Melbourne have decided that in order to keep people's pets safe from accidental eradication and to stop cats causing further damage to the ecosystem, they're on permanent lockdown. Cat owners in the city are now legally responsible for keeping their cats at home. All cats must be microchipped and only allowed outside into owners' back gardens if they have suitable cat-proof fencing to stop them from escaping. It's thought the extreme measures will prevent further problems with cats deciding to decimate the local wildlife, but cats aren't the only problem. there's also another animal which is equally as damaging: rabbits. When Europeans colonised Australia in the 1700s, they brought with them cats, but also rabbits. The two animals, through no fault of their own, did as animals do and bred, and soon outnumbered the local animals who had never had to compete with this type of predator and this type of prey before. The rabbits, luckily, were an excellent food source for the cats, but when food sources became less abundant, cats would go to the next best thing and eat the native species. The cat ban hopes to at least get some of the feral cat problem under control, but I can't help but think that humans are once again responsible for messing up an ecosystem and blaming it on animals. All I do know is that there are going to be some mightily peed off cats out there that have had their wandering spots significantly reduced in size, but I guess better that than to be accidentally maimed by an ineffective marksman. After all, I'm sure the next generation of cats in Australia won't even realise. My beautiful Boots cat is a house cat because London, and I can't actually imagine her being outside at all where there aren't radiators to lie underneath constantly. Continuing with our animal theme, our next story takes us to a golf course in West Yorkshire, where two pigs decided to cause havoc in a 4-day reign of terror. Two Vietnamese pot-bellied pigs appeared seemingly out of nowhere on a golf course in Calderdale in the north of England. The porcine duo then began to cause mayhem on the golf course, interfering with golfers' belongings and chasing people around the course. The two pigs, which couldn't be tracked down to any local farms, had seemingly been abandoned in nearby woodland and had decided to make their way to play a few quick rounds. The duo weren't given a warm welcome by the owners of the course, and after being shooed away, they retreated into the woods and weren't seen for the next 2 days. However, the pigs had taken that 48 hours elsewhere as a chance to plan their revenge for being unceremoniously ushered off the course, and had come up with a plan. Choosing violence, the pigs decided it was time to take over the golf course as their own, and so they began charging at golfers to get them off what they now deemed to be their territory. A groundskeeper who tried to calm the pigs down and send them back into the woods was given what for as one of the pigs bit him. Another man who tried to help also got scratched by the marauding duo, and both men had to attend A&E to get treatment, tetanus injections and antibiotics for their wounds. As the pigs continued to move in on the course and to hold their positions, the owners decided they had to concede to their new pig overlords and to close the course to avoid anyone else getting injured. Pretty happy with themselves, the pigs then decided they'd had enough fun at the golf course, and after dark decided to go and wind up passing cars. It was here, however, their rampaging came to an end as they were rounded up by police and taken away. I couldn't find out what happened to the pigs after this, but I did hear that bacon sandwiches were on the menu at the golf club the next morning, so you can draw your own conclusions on that one. I'm sure they're at a farm, don't be too upset. Thanks for joining me for those weird stories. I hope you enjoyed them. You know the drill by now if you've been around for a while, but if you are new here, then please subscribe, come and follow me on my social media, and if you like the show and want me to make more of them, then please consider becoming a Patreon supporter so you can get your mitts on exclusive content, an extra episode per month, some goodies through the post, and depending on the tier you pick, have your name read out at the end of the episode, like our executive Patreon producers, Amy, Barry, Bethan, Jess, Kate, Mary, Ren, Sam, Sarah and Veronica, and huge thanks to all of my other patrons too. If a long-term commitment isn't your thing, but you just wanted to send a tip or a gift from my Amazon wishlist, then I would massively appreciate that too, and I'll leave all the links in the show notes on the podcast and on the description on the YouTube video. And there's also a nifty little button on YouTube now where it says thanks, which is like a little virtual tip jar, so if you're feeling generous, then that's an option as well. An enormous thank you for even considering doing any of those things, as it really is the best when I get a new patron notification or a surprise parcel through the door, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate the support and the kindness you guys have the ability to show. You're the bloody best. Also, it doesn't have to be all about money and things. You can make me equally as happy by spreading the word about the show on social media, telling your friends, your colleagues, or a stranger at the bus stop. It all hugely helps the show to keep going and growing, and you might think it doesn't do anything, but I see you, you're making a difference, and I thank you for helping. Thank you for joining me for this episode. I've been Nikki Druce, and I'll see you ghouls next time for December, the last one in the series.